Galaxy 666 by Pel Toro. Session 56.
Chapter 17. Ischklah wandered away from his three companions without any great feeling of enthusiasm. True, it was very good to have the use of his body and limbs again after the awful, death-like paralysis which the aliens had imposed upon them with that weapon of theirs. On the other hand, he was not happy about the idea of wandering around the alien ship on his own, even though there was no doubt at all that it was the best thing for them to do. Ischklah was the kind of man who felt lost without company, particularly the company of Korzak. There was a very close nexus between them. Ischklah found himself a little place of concealment between two protruding bulkheads on the interior of the ship. It was not a particularly good place. On the other hand, it was safer than just wandering around. At that moment, Ischklah felt as though most of his courage had deserted him. He wanted safety. He wondered what had become of Oski and Bronit. Most of all, he wondered what had happened to Korzak. He wished they had split up into two pairs. He'd have felt much better if Korzak had been with him. He crouched between the bulkheads, scratching his chin, which had grown stubbly since his adventures on the apocryphal planet. A shaft of light suddenly went flashing past his concealment place. In the light he saw an alien moving along. He almost thought, walking, but aliens did not walk. They plodded on their pseudopods. He might have almost said that the alien was pseudoplodding, but he didn't feel like making a joke at that moment. His original intention had been to lie low, to remain still, and to let the alien go past, but the alien stopped as though it had become aware of his presence. Scarcely 2 feet separated humanoid from alien. Attack is usually the best form of defense, though not always. Ischklah leaped from concealment, rather as a cornered rat attacks when further retreat is impossible. Ischklah was aware that pseudopods were flapping against him, but he was a strong man, and muscularly superior to the alien. Ischklah had never been so happy before that he was a vertebrate. He was not only muscularly superior, he was able to move his muscles more efficiently. There are specific types of conflict in which bones are a distinct disadvantage, but this was not one of those types of conflict. The alien was trying to get its pseudopods around Ischklah's waist in a kind of crushing bear hug, but its pseudopods were not long enough. Even if they had been, they were not strong enough. It was not like a fight with a boa constrictor. It was not like a fight with a grizzly bear. It was more like a fight with a gigantic leathery jellyfish. Ischklah tried crushing the alien in the same way that the alien was trying to crush him. It didn't seem to be suffering any particular discomfort. He remembered reading an article once on the odd habits of the octopus. Apparently, some of these creatures in captivity in a marine aquarium on Earth had developed a deadly vendetta with a lobster. The lobster, a giant among his own people, had fought to the death. His own, as it happened. The injuries given and received by both parties were serious in the extreme, and the lobster's gigantic claw had all but severed one of the octopus's tentacles. Almost, but not quite. Flattened and distorted as the limb had been by the lobster's claw, it had recovered. Ischklah realized that he was making a mistake which the lobster had been forced to make on account of its natural endowments. He was pressing the wrong way. But being a man, not a lobster, Ischklah could adapt himself to fight in other ways. He saw almost immediately that what was needed was an attack with fists and feet rather than a grapple. If he was going to beat this creature, he would have to box it. Wrestling would not be enough. Fisticuffs in the ancient terrestrial French art of la savate would be the answer to the computer man's problem. And first and foremost, Ischklah was a problem-solving expert. He applied this particular ability of his to the problem that now faced him, and found that his solution was having happy consequences as far as he was concerned, although the alien did not seem to be enjoying the process to quite the same degree of joyous abandon that Ischklah was showing. He felt as though he were punching a rather soggily inflated punching bag. The alien stopped trying to envelop him in its pseudopods. He followed with a sharp knee-jerk in what would have been a humanoid's stomach or lower. Whether the visceral body of the alien had any similarity with a mammal, it was impossible to tell. He followed this up with a round of staccato punches at the top end of the alien, what might have been the head on a more prepossessing creature. The alien fell, and Ischklah set to work with his feet. He was not a vicious man, and, above all, he was not a killer, or even a potential killer. But not only his life, freedom, and safety depended upon dealing effectively with the alien, but also the life, freedom, and safety of his friends. At the third kick, the alien lay very still indeed. Ischklah wondered whether he had inadvertently killed his host. He stooped over it. There were still faint signs of life. He was relieved to find them. He dragged the bulky, sack-like alien into the hiding hole between the two bulkheads. Nearby, he discovered some bales of opaque, flexible plastic stuff, which looked rather like some of the cruder cloth fabrics that were produced by more backward parts of the Empire. Ischklah covered the unconscious alien with these fabrics and then moved on quickly. He had lost all sense of direction. Whether he had traveled up, down, or sideways, he had no means of knowing. There was something very odd and bewildering about this ship. He saw a light coming from under and around the edges of a door. He paused uncertainly. To go forward or to go back? To go in or to retreat? Perhaps there were aliens behind that lighted door. Perhaps there weren't. He stepped resolutely up to the portal, flung it open, and hurled himself inside.
Here ends Session 56.